Aloha, Jonathan. It's so nice to be with you.
Hey Gina, thank you so much for having me here and having a conversation with me. It's so nice to put a face to the voice. I've communicated with you for so long, but I've never actually seen you.
I know, absolutely. It's been years, and I really have appreciated your staying in connection because it helps me stay in connection with my people. It's just the teacher needs a teacher, and we all learn from other people. And since I so much enjoy the work that you're doing in the food piece. I love the way that you're moving from the calories to the quality, and
Hmm.
it's so important. I even had a little booklet I wrote for my clients about real food, a
Hmm.
long time. And we've been talking about this for a long time, but to have somebody actually put it all together and take all the science and everything over these years that you have done is so timely. It really is about time. And what I wanted to ask you some questions today about were the kinds of people that I am dealing with a lot. I deal with a wide population, but a very big segment of my people, I would say 80% are chronic dieters, menopausal, postmenopausal women, people who have history of being of larger size and maybe not being able to fit into what they see as the model ideal, and people with eating disorder history.
Hmm.
So I wanted to ask you what you might advise these people if and or when they didn't lose weight on the SANE Solution kind of program that you are putting together.
Hmm.
What would you say to them to keep them inspired to take care of themselves still?
Gina, there's one of the I'm not a big fan of calories, as you mentioned. So the title of my book is the calorie myth, and one of the reasons I do not like focusing on calories is because calories make us think about our metabolism mathematically, and our metabolism doesn't work mathematically, meaning that, and we've all experienced this, we've heard the myth of, oh, just cut 500 calories per day, and that means you'll cut 3,500 calories per week, which means you'll lose 1 pound per week, which means over the course of 4 years you'll lose 200 pounds, and eventually you'll weigh negative numbers, but it doesn't actually make sense. But what that does to us, because we've been taught that our metabolisms work like math for 50 years, when we think about healing our bodies and we think about weight loss, we tend to think of it as a linear process. Now, my background is in engineering, and I don't want to get too engineering on you here, but we tend to think that there is this steady linear weight loss that happens when you undertake any sort of health activity. What I would like to shift the conversation to is thinking about your body not like a mathematical equation, but rather thinking about your metabolism just like you think about any other part of your body. And let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you were to break your ankle. Okay. So you broke your ankle, and the next day, it doesn't really feel better. The next day after that, it doesn't really feel better. You could put it in a splint, but it's going to take a few months. And in fact, if you've broken your ankle a couple times, the more times you've broken your ankle, the longer it's going to take to heal it each time. And if you don't really keep your weight off your ankle and you don't really do what you need to do to get it healed, it's going to take longer to heal. But then one day, after you spend a couple months healing your body, you'll be able to walk on your ankle. And it will seem like a miracle because it's like you had this cast on your ankle was broken, but then one day after many months, now your ankle works again. And what people who improve the quality of their eating experience is something much more like this. They experience metabolic healing. They don't experience the slight and diminishing weight loss that comes from starvation dieting, because to be clear, if you starve yourself hard enough, you will lose weight, but that's not healthy or effective. But if you go and you heal your body, whether it's a broken ankle or a broken metabolism, if you step back, give your body what it needs to heal itself, and then be patient, you will see results. To be clear, you might not see the results the media says you should want, but you will see results. So let me give you one more example to extend that broken ankle analogy. I've blown my knee out 3 times. So I used to play a lot of sports. I've blown my right anterior cruciate ligament out 3 times. Okay. After the third blowing out of my knee, it didn't work as well as after the second time I blew it out or after the first time I blew it out. And it certainly never worked as well as before I ever blew it out. Now, Gina, what a lot of us face is we lived through the Great Nutritional Depression, which was this period of time in the 80s and 90s where we were just told, look, fat's evil, just eat sugar, processed nonsense. And Gina, it's an inconvenient truth, but it's a truth nonetheless that this did, in some ways, permanent damage to our metabolism. And that's just a fact. Just like smoking can do permanent damage to your metabolism, eating some of these edible products can do permanent damage to your metabolism. But I'm here to say that just like if you've broken your ankle 5 times, that doesn't mean you can't heal it after breaking it a 6th time. However, your ankle might not work the same way it worked before you ever broke it. And it also might not work the same way or heal as quickly as if you were 20, if you're 60. So just try to shift the model of weight loss to be more of a model of how does my body heal? And the same things we would think about if you had the flu and you only got 2 hours of sleep per night and you didn't really, take in enough vitamin C and you really didn't take steps to heal your body, it would take longer to get over the flu. And if you're 85 and you get the flu, it takes longer to get over the flu than if you're 8 and you get the flu. So take those same parameters, the same benchmarks you use for every other measurement of health and apply it to your metabolism as well. That was a really long-winded answer, but did that help at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. The damage to a metabolism is just like damage to any other part. And some people heal more completely or faster, just like with the ankle example. And I think once we can have our minds wrapped around that, we can get beyond, needing to be looking at weight as a goal versus it really is just a reflection of health. It's where we're at with all our systems. And
especially the weight measurement in general, I would say is as obsolete and counterproductive as calories. Dare I say? I think you use calories to reduce your weight, but you use high quality, nutrient dense, sane foods to increase your health. And when you increase your health, what a lot of people, especially a lot of people who practice my approach or the SANE Solution, is they actually generally do not experience, some people do. So if you weigh 500 pounds, you're going to lose weight, right? Because you have a lot of weight to lose. But if you're otherwise healthy, what you will see is a radical change in your body composition, meaning your waist will shrink. First and foremost, your arms will tone up. You will become tighter and firmer, but your weight might not change at all because you're gonna burn off fat, but you will build muscle tissue. And 10 pounds of muscle tissue takes up way less space on your body than 10 pounds of fat. So if you could take a magic pill, which doesn't exist, actually it does, it's called vegetables. So if you could take a magic pill, which is called vegetables, tomorrow, and it would cause you to lose 10 pounds of fat and gain 10 pounds of muscle, you would weigh the exact same, but you would look noticeably tighter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. This is really more of a mind game right now for a lot of people.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because your approach, it's so well explained that I think it's going to hit more people. Your examples are always wonderful and they stick with people in their mind. I will be remembering the broken ankle for a while. So what do you say about us, how we can continue to increase our awareness around just looking at it, at quality of food versus the calories? Because, and specifically women I'm talking here, I know men are more falling into this category now too, but they're so outwardly focused on the particular look, size, weight, all those numbers. Mm-hmm. And so how can we help steer their awareness to a quality of life and using food mm-hmm. to help us to get there? Do you have any words of wisdom around that?
at the core of the calorie model, and this is now I'm going to get a little bit this becomes a little bit less scientific and a little bit more moralistic, so you might have to reel me in a little bit here, but at the core of the calorie model is a model of inadequacy. I would actually argue that it's almost like the doctrine of original sin, right? At the root of the calorie model is that we are defective by default, and that unless we consciously intervene, we're going to overeat, and we need to, almost like get smacked on the wrist with a ruler. Like, food is bad. Stop eating so much. Food is bad. You're bad, because unless you consciously count calories, you're going to overeat. And so a couple things. One, if we can realize that first and foremost, just objectively, human beings are not designed or evolved, depending on your belief system, but it fits in both camps. We are not designed to be overweight any more than we're designed to get cancer. Overweight is not a moral failing. It is a metabolic condition, much like diabetes is a metabolic condition. And the more we start to understand overweight and obesity as the metabolic disorder that it is, the more we can treat it like we would treat any other medical condition we have, versus thinking about it as a character flaw that we need to overcome, right? So if you're diabetic, you probably don't beat yourself up every day and look in the mirror and just say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I need to just try harder to not be diabetic. Right. I just really do. I just need to try harder. And the irony with that example is we might say that sounds silly, Jonathan, but at the end of the day, diabetes, adult onset diabetes, is caused by the quality of food we're eating, right? Diabetes is the breakdown of your body's ability to regulate your blood sugar automatically. And when that happens, you need to consciously intervene. You need to count your blood sugar, for lack of better terms, because your body has lost its ability to do that. Now, we know that taking insulin doesn't cure diabetes, and we know that diabetes isn't a moral failing. What diabetes is a dysfunction of certain elements of our body. Now, if we can understand that obesity is a similar condition, so it's a breakdown in for example, your hypothalamus in your brain, its ability to automatically balance energy. It's a breakdown of a lot of the bacteria in your gut. It's a breakdown of hormonal balance in your body. And you can heal that, and you're not lazy and you're not a glutton. You did the best you could with the information you were given, and heartbreakingly, that information was wrong. And we as a nation are paying the price for that now. But if you can start, sometimes there was a big hubbub, Gina, a couple of years ago about when I believe the American Medical Association came out and literally said obesity is a disease. And there was a bunch of media, like some people said that's good, some people said that's bad. And I went on record saying I think that's good because, one, it's accurate, and two, if we start to look at obesity as a medical condition rather than a moral failing, we can make progress. But if we just think it's a result of human weakness, we can't. So you are not struggling with your metabolic health because you have failed. You are struggling with your metabolic health, and this is a fact, because you have been given incorrect information. And this is not my opinion. This is coming from the Harvard Medical School. This is coming from Johns Hopkins. It is now widely accepted that the food guide pyramid that influenced how we should all eat is patently wrong and might even be the worst way to eat. So once you understand, one more example, Gina, and then I'll wrap up this very long answer. Imagine that you were alive a little over 100 years ago, because a little over 100 years ago, the mainstream said that smoking wasn't bad for you. In fact, there were doctors and ads saying smoking is not bad for you. It's actually good for your T-zone. Now, let's say that the science never came to the surface and that we all lived our lives thinking that smoking was harmless, or even that it's somewhat, maybe it's even good for us in moderation, right? There's a fun term that we hear about in nutrition a lot. And then we ended up having 70% of Americans have lung cancer. Is that their fault? Or did they just act on the information they were given? Right? So I believe that's the situation. We live in a world where unless you really, really, really try hard, if you eat the standard American diet, you are doing to your metabolism, you are putting toxic substances into your body, just like smoking is putting toxic substances into your body, but you were never told that. You were just told to count calories. And heck, by that logic, smoking isn't even bad for you because it has no calories in it.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent answer. I appreciate that because it is about information. And as we grow as a society and a culture, information changes. We make new revelations, and we have to be willing to explore those and move along forward with them. And it seems like with the calorie thing, they just stayed put with that for a very long time. So I'm really hoping that this information can get out a lot faster. You know, talking about that we had bad information, how do you think you would talk about how in the past people didn't need to be told how to eat, right? Like if we go back and not even that many generations back, they weren't reading books on it, right? They weren't. So where did that come from? What about the wisdom of our bodies? Where does that come into play?
That is the thing that disproves calorie math is the scientific verification of this wisdom that you describe. So I think we've all intuitively known that at the end of the day, our bodies, we're each individuals, we're each brilliant, we each have a innate wisdom about what is good or bad for us. We know that. And when we look below the surface, we can actually prove that. For example, we can prove that there are hormones in your body and that there are components of your brain that are specifically designed to say, when you eat calories, make me satisfied, right? Satisfied to the point where I don't overconsume calories. Just like you have parts of your brain and functions in your body where when you drink more water, you automatically go to the bathroom more. You don't have to think about it, right? I know that sounds a little bit silly, but the wisdom of your body in a very benign sense takes care of keeping you drinking and excreting the proper amount of water, right? It also takes care of air. It also takes care of your blood sugar, unless you get diabetes, your blood pressure, all of those things. All biological organisms are intended to maintain a state of homeostasis, which is what we all learned about in high school biology class. It means a state of balance in which life can thrive. And once you get that energy balance isn't this weird exception that doesn't work like every other system in the body, then you start to say, okay, consciously counting calories, while it can quote unquote work, is a little bit like consciously counting your breaths. Can you hold your breath for a short period of time? You absolutely can, just like you can try to not go to the bathroom. But over a while, the wisdom of the body will win out. But what has happened, and Gina, this is where it gets really, really heartbreaking, is so we're born, and until that system is broken, it's there and it's brilliant. But what we're seeing now is this is a severe analogy. But if you ask a heroin addict what their body is telling them they need, they will say more heroin, right? Because there's something off. There's something that needs to be healed and fixed. So for many of us, the wisdom of our bodies it is actually been jaded a little bit because our brains have been rewired by a lot of these toxic elements in our food supply. So for a period of time, we have to just consciously ensure we're taking in sufficient doses of nutritional therapy to heal that system and to restore the wisdom of the body. And then what you will experience is you will never need to diet again. Just like a vegetarian doesn't think they're dieting, that's just how they eat, or a kosher person doesn't think they're dieting, that's just how they eat, because this is tied into their identity, it's tied into how they see themselves, and then once you can really heal your brain, your hormones, and your gut, your body will be pushing you towards these sane foods like non-starchy vegetables, nutritious protein, whole food fats, and low sugar fruits, rather than pushing you towards these addictive, toxic elements that have been foisted upon us over the past 40 years.
Absolutely. And you have to get away from the heroin to get off the heroin You have to get away from those toxic foods, and you can't have them in moderation, so to speak, because they keep you tied in.
That's
They
exact.
really keep you tied in.
And Gina, that's such an important analogy, and sometimes people will dismiss it outright of like food isn't like a drug. Okay, it
Today's
is.
food.
It is. And let me just give you one thought process to help with that. Okay. So what is food, right? Food is something you put into your body that then turns into chemicals, right? Like it dissolves into something. What is a pharmaceutical? Something you put into your, like the pharmaceutical doesn't have calories in it. Does that make it not food? Well, no, not really, because we consider diet Coca-Cola food and it doesn't have calories in it. So the determinant of food isn't that which has calories in it. How about we just say if you put it in your body, it has a
Yeah.
dramatic impact on you. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it needs that's part of what you're educating people on is to be able to see all of these elements. And I think that that wisdom of the body then takes over. Once you've broken the chains and you've healed, once you've healed, you can actually trust the impulses of your body. When it's not looking for the fix anymore,
Yeah.
it really, working with eating disordered women for years and years, they do know they need a little more protein in their diet when they start healing. They're shocked with the idea, I feel like I need more protein. Like it's beautiful because our bodies do know, but we can't get there without healing. And I love nutritional therapy. That's a wonderful way to look at it. Yeah, it comes in a pill. It just comes in a pill on your plate 3 times a day, right? Good bowls of vegetables and your good proteins. And I know you have a lot of people to talk to, Jonathan. So any last words of wisdom before I let you go?
Gina, just in closing, the theme I think of our conversation so far has been the word healing. And that is the fundamental difference between what we're trying to do at SANE Solution and what you will see at conventional calorie counting programs such as a Weight Watchers or a Jenny Craig, where at the end of the day, saying there's fundamentally two approaches to wellness or weight loss. Like, let's really simplify this. One is to say, keep eating what you're eating, just eat less of it. There's another approach, which is change what you're eating.
Yeah.
Right? There's really only two approaches. You can either attack the quantity of food you're eating, or you can attack, I don't really like that word, you can focus on the quality of food you're eating. You will never heal your body by eating less toxic stuff. Right? That's just like saying, I'm going to heal my hand that I'm burning on the stove by touching the stove more gently. Or I'm going to not get lung cancer by smoking shorter cigarettes. Right? It might slow the development of lung cancer, but it will never heal your lungs. Smoking shorter cigarettes will never heal your lungs. But now imagine if you were breathing in an abundance of clean air. That's what I want you to think of. I want you to take in an abundance of sane foods. And hopefully when you start to look at it that way, when you start to look at it an approach of healing yourself first, you can see that calorie counting can never work because it's just like smoking shorter cigarettes. And really the only approach is this nutritional therapy, eating more, but of the right kinds of sane foods. That was a long last word.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I've loved you for years, and I'm so glad that everything is just blossoming the way it is. Will you please keep in touch?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you, John. Aloha.